Today I will not give you a speech. Today I will speak to you from my heart, in my own words, not from a written text, but from what I carry inside, because what I have to say is too real for a script. My name is Ibrahim Traore. I am the president of Burkina Faso, the land of upright people. I am 36 years old. I was once a geology student at the University of Ouagadougou. Then I became a soldier. I fought jihadists on the front lines, in Djibo, on the northern border, in the UN peacekeeping force in Mali. In 2018, during the major attacks in Timbuktu, I was recorded as one of the soldiers who showed courage. I watched my soldiers fight without equipment, no body armor, no ammunition, no vehicles. While back in the capital, politicians were handing out suitcases of money for bribes. That is when I understood. The enemy of this country was not outside, it was inside. On September 30th, 2022, we made a decision. And today, I want to ask you a question. How much does the president of your country earn? I ask this question for a reason, because I rejected the presidential salary. I run this country on my captain's salary, my soldier's pay, and I cut my minister's salaries by 30%. But on the same day, I raised the salaries of civil servants, teachers, nurses, public workers by 50%. Western media does not tell you this. They do not want you to know, because if you know this, you will start asking questions about your own leaders, and that terrifies them. Before I begin, I want to ask something of you. This kind of request is not my style. I am a soldier. Saying like and share in front of a camera is not who I am. But my media team convinced me. They said, "Captain, your voice must reach the world." But there is something called an algorithm. If people watch this video, leave comments, and share it, it reaches more people. Otherwise, it gets buried. I understand this, because we are already used to being buried. For 60 years, they buried us, but we will not be buried anymore. So I say this to you. If this message means something to you, leave a comment. Write the name of your country. Tell me where you are watching from, and share this, because our voice is in your hands. Every share is a bullet, but one that kills no one and awakens everyone. I am not the first Burkinabe leader to reject the presidential salary. Before me, there was a man, Thomas Sankara. He came to power in 1983 at 33 years old. He was a soldier like me. He was young like me. And like me, he belonged to nothing and no one except his people. When Sankara came to power, what did he do? First thing, he cut his own salary. He sold the presidential Mercedes fleet. He banned first-class flights for cabinet members. Ministers flew economy class. He drove one car. When he died, do you know what his possessions were? One car, 4 bicycles, 3 guitars, 1 refrigerator, 1 broken freezer, a head of state. That was all he owned. Because Sankara believed that a leader exists not to enrich himself, but to enrich his people. What did Sankara say? He who feeds you controls you. He was the first African leader to stand up to the IMF. He rejected debt payments. He said Africa's debt is not legitimate. This debt is neo-colonialism. In 4 years, he raised the literacy rate from 13% to 73%. He vaccinated 2.5 million children in 10 days. He redistributed land to the peasants. And in 1987, he was murdered by his closest friend, Blaise Compaoré, with the support of France, with their help, with their planning. Compaoré ruled for 27 years. He did not cut his salary, he raised it. He built palaces, he went back to the Mercedes. He became France's most loyal ally. He accepted every condition the IMF set. And when he was overthrown in 2014, where did he flee? To Ivory Coast. With his fortune, one man was buried with 4 bicycles. The other fled in limousines. I walk in the footsteps of the man with 4 bicycles. My salary decision was announced by our government spokesman, Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo, in June 2023, after the Council of Ministers. His exact words: "The president of the transition, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has decided not to receive the presidential salary. He will continue with his captain's salary." What does this mean? It means this: I am the president of Burkina Faso. I am the world's youngest head of state. But the salary I receive, roughly $300 to $500 a month, is not dramatically different from a civil servant in my country. My country's minimum wage is $77 a month. $77. I earn several times that, yes. But look at the difference. The President of the United States earns $400,000 a year. The President of France earns 240,000 euros. The President of Nigeria, a country where half the population lives in poverty, reportedly earns over $1 million per year through various allowances. In Cameroon, Paul Biya, in power for 42 years, estimated annual salary and benefits over $600,000. He stays in Swiss hotels for months, on the state budget. In the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, 40 years in power. An oil-rich country, people in poverty, his family's real estate portfolio in France is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The ill-gotten gains trial lasted years in French courts. In Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara, France's loyal ally. He drowned his country in debt, implemented every IMF program faithfully. The people got poorer. The elite got richer. These are the men applauded as Democrats. The West gives them awards, shakes their hands at press conferences, calls them stability and democracy. And they call me a dictator. Me, the man living on a captain's salary, the man who raised his people's wages, the man who rejected the presidential salary. I did not just cut my own salary, I changed the system. Minister and parliament member salaries were cut by 30%. You should know, our parliament members used to earn $3,000 per month. In one of the poorest countries on earth, $3,000 a month, even human rights organizations had protested this was excessive. I cut it by 30%. On the same day, I raised civil servant salaries by 50%. Teachers, nurses, doctors, municipal workers, the backbone of public service. Why? Because who does the state serve? For 60 years, we were told the state works from the top down. The leader earns, the people work. Politicians get rich, civil servants cannot make ends meet. I reversed this equation. From the bottom up, the people will earn, the leader will sacrifice. And my ministers followed. In November 2022, just the second month of our government, the ministers voluntarily donated 50% of their already reduced salaries to the National Solidarity Fund. What does this fund do? It supports families displaced by terrorist attacks. Since 2015, more than 2 million of our people have been displaced. And my ministers gave the money from their own pockets to those people. In what other country have you seen this? Which president, which minister does this? Now let me tell you the real story, because saying he cut salaries is easy. What matters is where you spend the money. I rejected the IMF and the World Bank. I said it openly. Africa does not need the World Bank, the IMF, Europe, or America. In front of cameras, before the world. Why? Because for 60 years, these institutions put chains on Africa in the name of aid. They give you loans, but with conditions. Cut social spending, reduce the health budget, spend less on education, fire public employees, privatize, open your economy to us. You accept these conditions, and what happens? The people get poorer. Resources are privatized. Foreign companies extract your gold, take the profits, and leave you only holes in the ground. From 2000 to 2022, Burkina Faso borrowed approximately $3.5 billion from the World Bank and IMF. 22 years, $3.5 billion. What was the result? Poverty stayed above 40%. 73% of roads remained unpaved dirt. No industry, no factories, no value addition. Where did $3.5 billion go? To consulting firms, to foreign contractors, to interest payments, not to my people. We rejected this. And what happened? In 2 years, our GDP rose from $18.8 billion to $22.1 billion. 17% growth. Without the IMF, without the World Bank, without structural adjustment programs. Our inflation was 14.1% in 2022. Within 1 year, we brought it down to 0.7%, from 14.1 to 0.7. Western economists cannot explain this, because inflation dropping without IMF prescriptions does not fit their models. Their models are wrong. Reality is in front of them. In 2025, our gold production reached 94 tons, up from 60 tons the previous year. A 57% increase. Mining revenues contributed 776 billion CFA francs, $1.4 billion to our budget, the highest figure in our country's history. And in February 2026, do you know what happened? IMF Deputy Managing Director Kenji Okamura came personally to Ouagadougou. He came to our door. And what did he say? That he was impressed by Burkina Faso's economic vision, that he was pleased with the strengthening of the macroeconomic framework. The man who kicked the IMF out brought the IMF to his door. This is not coincidence. This is success. This is the success of my people. Factories, words you almost never heard in Burkina Faso for 60 years. Because the colonial system worked like this. We extracted the raw materials, they processed them. We grew the cotton, it became fabric in France. We dug up the gold, it was refined in Canada. I changed this. In 2024, in a single year, I established 8 new state enterprises. 8. La Banque Postale, the People's Bank. Faso Gulgo, affordable housing development. Faso Kosam, dairy and livestock. Faso Rails, the railway company. We will complete the railway dream that Sankara was assassinated for in 1987. SONASP, the National Precious Materials Company, establishing gold purchasing centers and stopping smuggling. SOPAMIB, the State Mining Company. CCVA, Agricultural Value Chain. CAMEG, Pharmaceutical Supply Center. Our total state enterprises rose to 30. In 2023, these companies generated a net profit of $157 million. Their equity stands at $1.7 billion. Total contribution to the state budget, $972.3 million. We built our first gold refinery, 150 tons annual capacity. Exporting raw gold is the modern version of the slave trade. Now we refine our own gold ourselves. I built 2 tomato processing factories, the first in our country's history. Burkina is one of the sunniest countries on earth. The soil is ideal for tomatoes. But for 60 years, we imported canned tomatoes. Now we produce our own. We opened the second cotton factory. In 60 years, there was 1 cotton factory. 1. We built the second in 2 years. The National Artisanal Cotton Processing Center was opened. We replaced the judges' French-style black robes with Faso d'Anfani, our traditional Burkinabe fabric. Our judges now deliver justice not in the colonizer's gown, but in the weaving of their own people. This is not a wardrobe change, a generic drug manufacturing facility, a country with a $77 minimum wage producing its own medicine, a cement factory, a flour mill, mobile clinics spreading across the country, bringing healthcare to villages that have never seen a doctor, vocational training expanding, building an education system that gives young people skills, not just certificates. The West says state enterprises are inefficient, privatize. For 60 years they privatized. The Canadians extracted the gold. The French processed the cotton. Profits flowed abroad. For us, no jobs, no income, no technology transfer. I said, no, we will do it ourselves. And we are doing it. The fields. I must tell you about the fields. Because what truly makes a country free is not weapons, it is wheat. A country that cannot feed its people is not free. He who feeds you controls you. Sankara said this. Do you know what the West told us? If international aid is cut off, Burkina will starve to death. They said this openly. They issued threats of sanctions. They wrote UN reports. Famine in the Sahel is inevitable, they said. They used the cruelest weapon to bring us to our knees, the fear of hunger. What happened? In 2025, we produced 7.14 million tons of grain, a 17.6% increase. Rice production rose from 280,000 to 326,000 tons. We achieved food self-sufficiency, not hunger, abundance. The largest harvest in our history. How? We gave farmers seeds. We gave them fertilizer. We gave them equipment. We built irrigation systems. We did not impose loan conditions on them. We gave them support. Our agricultural value chain company, CCVA, was established. Farmer cooperatives were strengthened. Our 2026 targets, expanding irrigation infrastructure, water storage facilities, aquaculture, livestock feed production. You will starve, they said. We are fed. You will collapse, they said. We grew. You will beg, they said. We stood tall. I launched a 332-kilometer expressway from Ouagadougou to Bobo Dioulasso, 8 lanes, 4 in each direction, a 100-meter-wide corridor, 9 two-level interchanges, 28 overpasses, $357 million. And every cent of this expressway is financed from our own budget. No World Bank loan, no IMF conditions, no foreign debt. We are building the Thomas Sankara Airport in Donson, 1 million passenger capacity per year, $200 million. With Faso Rails, we are rebuilding the railway network, the railway Sankara dreamed of 38 years ago. 2,000 motorcycles delivered to our police force. With Faso Mabo, we are targeting 5,000 kilometers of new roads per year. The Relance Plan, our 2026 to 2030 National Development Framework. Total budget, 36 trillion CFA francs, $60.3 billion. And 2/3 of this, $40 billion from internal resources. Our own gold, our own mines, our own taxes, our own state enterprises. You might ask, is this man insane? A country with a $77 minimum wage is making a $60 billion plan? Yes, because we are not insane, we are free. Now I want to show you something. I want to show you my people. In Kaya, 100 kilometers north of Ouagadougou, 118 children came together, ages 7 to 15. These children saved money from their pocket change and bought 5 bags of cement. Why? To contribute to the Faso Mabo road building campaign. 118 children, a 7-year-old child carrying cement for their country's road with coins from their pocket. In Ouagadougou, every night, every single night, at more than 20 intersections, citizens stand guard to protect me of their own free will. No one forces them. They stand in the streets until midnight, in the cold, in the dark, because they know I am a target. 5 assassination attempts. In 3 years, they tried to kill me 5 times. The most recent in January 2026. The plan was this. An operation would begin 1 hour before midnight. I would be killed, either at close range or by mining my residence. Then our drone base would be disabled. Then external forces would intervene militarily. According to Security Minister Mahamadou Sana, the main actor was the former coup leader Paul-Henri Damiba, living in Togo. What did the people do? They poured into the streets in the middle of the night. They filled the squares. They said, "We protect Traore." These people, my people, take to the streets for me because they know I live for them. I cut my salary because I cannot take their money for myself. I cut the ministers' salaries because my people's money should not go into politicians' pockets. I raise the civil servants' salaries because they are the ones who keep this country standing. Why do they want to kill me? You know why. Because I threaten the system, the 60-year colonial system, the CFA franc system, where France forces African countries to deposit 50% of their currency reserves in the French treasury. The system where gold flows out, the system where people stay poor. Every leader who threatens this system becomes a target. Sankara was targeted and killed. Lumumba was targeted and killed. Nkrumah was targeted and overthrown. Gaddafi was targeted and lynched. Russian intelligence SVR released a document showing that French President Macron approved a list of undesirable leaders for elimination. You can guess who is undesirable. And there is something else. The phone number of France 24 journalist Wassim Nasr was found on the cell phone of a terrorist killed in Burkina. A French state media journalist's number on a terrorist's phone. What does this mean? You decide. I am a target, but I am still standing. Because behind me stands my people. 25 million people. And 50,000 volunteers for the defense of the homeland. The VDP. When we called for volunteers, 90,000 applied. We accepted 50,000. 90,000 people said, "Send me to the front." This is not an army. This is the will of a people. A will that carries the spirit of Sankara. To my African brothers and sisters listening to me, we were the forgotten peoples. The world had turned its back on us. We were rich in resources, but drowning in poverty. Why? Because others took our wealth. But this is changing now. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. We established the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, a joint army, plans for a joint passport, plans for a joint currency. We left ECOWAS because ECOWAS was France's puppet. ECOWAS imposed sanctions on us, closed our borders, said submit. We did not. And now ECOWAS is crumbling, while we are growing. In Niamey, Niger's capital, 40 ISIS militants attacked the airport. Do you know what happened? AES joint forces neutralized all 40 terrorists in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Joint intelligence, joint operations, joint victory. France no longer provides security for the Sahel. We do. When I assumed the AES chairmanship, what did I say? The AES belongs to all Africans who desire sovereignty. This is not just an alliance of 3 countries. This is a philosophy. This is a call. The call for the sovereignty that is the birthright of every African. And even America has noticed. The US State Department is returning to the Sahel, visiting Mali. France has been left out. The world order is changing. To my brothers and sisters in Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan, Brazil, Egypt, this is not just Africa's struggle. Wherever a people is exploited, wherever a country's resources flow outward, wherever a leader serves foreign powers instead of his own people, that country is part of our struggle too. Listen to me. I will say one last thing. The Institute for Security Studies, a Western think tank, published a report in May 2025. Do you know what it says? Ibrahim Traore is arguably Africa's most popular, most beloved president. The researchers of the very system trying to discredit me are saying this. Why am I popular? Because I do not talk. I do. I cut my salary. I built factories. I nationalized the gold. I built roads. I fed my people. And I put my life on the line. Because leadership is not a position. It is a sacrifice. If a leader lives better than his people, he is not a leader. He is a parasite. I was born in Bondakui, a small town, a humble family. I had no privileges. My teacher said I was quiet, but talented. I went from that quiet child to the world's youngest head of state. How? Through the strength of my people. My people carried me, and I will never put my people down. Sankara's brother, Valentin Sankara, at the opening of the Thomas Sankara Memorial said, Ibrahim Traore is the continuation of Burkina Faso's revolution. There is construction everywhere. Bricks are being laid, cobblestones are being placed. We could not ask for more. 38 years later, the revolution continues. This time it will be completed. This video, my voice, is in your hands. My media team is right. If this message does not reach more people, it will be buried. Western media will not tell this story. Mainstream channels ignore it. Our only weapon is you. Your comment, your share, your voice. Write the name of your country in the comments. Send this message to one person. Even one person is enough, because a fire starts with a single spark. In this country, 118 children bought cement with their pocket money. Surely, you can leave a comment. Homeland or death, we shall prevail.